Is it going to rain in India, or is it going to be a complete El Nino? Is it going to be a drought-like situation, or will there be a savior? These questions have been running across every Indian's mind ever since the news regarding a very deep El Nino has spread out by the IMD, and we are witnessing the drought-like conditions or the lack of rainfall already, right? This is Divya Kawatra and welcome back to the latest update series of Drishti IAS. Today we are going to talk about a very important phenomenon that occurs along El Nino, that is Indian Ocean Dipole. That's right. Recently, IMD has been talking about Indian Ocean Dipole and stating that we will have to witness what kind of situation occurs in the El Nino, because it is not necessary that while the world faces El Nino, India has to face it too. How so? Who is our savior? Who can be our savior this year as well? Let's find out the Indian Ocean Dipole concept. All right. So what is happening according to the IMD research? They have been saying that there are a super El Nino effect. Yes, there has been a forecast for a super El Nino. That means no rainfall for us. That means crops getting destroyed. That means drought-like situation occurring. That means constant water crisis and even food crisis can occur to an extreme state, right? This is what the estimate has been for so far, the environment. But excessive amounts have been recorded. They're comparing this to 1997 and saying that can a situation like 1997 occur in India if this El Nino condition continues? Okay. Let's see what this 1997 situation was, where the Central Pacific was running out of the fiercest fevers and recorded in the history in the form of El Nino, so violent that by every rule of thumb, India had to have been under worst droughts. But in the greatest of meteorological surprises, June to September monsoon actually ended up being surplus. It actually ended up being surplus, about 2% above the normal rainfall that can be expected during a good monsoon, right? While everybody was expecting drought-like situations, while everybody was expecting extreme conditions, India actually had above normal, 2% above normal monsoon, right? So the Director General of Indian Meteorological Department observed that it has happened only once ever, but let's see, can it happen this year? Because there is going to be an extreme El Nino, super El Nino. Can this really happen? Right. And this agent, how did this happen? What did this happen? What was this surprise? This surprise was Indian Ocean Dipole, right? India's backyard had a very good card, an ace to ourselves, that is Indian Ocean Dipole, that did not leave India to have the worst droughts of the kind that the rest of the world was witnessing. That's right. So what is this phenomena, that Indian Ocean Dipole, that saved us in 1997, and can it save us now? Right? Let's find out. So what is Indian Ocean Dipole? It is an ocean atmosphere phenomena which has irregular fluctuations. Okay. It has irregular fluctuations of what? Of the sea surface temperatures between western and eastern half of the tropical Indian Ocean, right? The word dipole itself is saying that there is two natures. There are two natures to it, right? It alternates between three phases: positive, negative, and neutral. There are three kinds of Indian Ocean Dipole conditions that are formed: positive, negative, and neutral. We'll understand each of it and we'll try to see what happens in every case. All right. Number one, we are talking about the positive phase. To understand positive phase, just understand the basic phenomena of Indian Ocean Dipole first. All right. How do you understand that? How do you understand that? Just imagine a bathtub, okay, or a pool, whatever, a water source. Just imagine a large water source, whatever you want to imagine. It is filled with water. Naturally, it is filled with water, right? Yeah. So this is filled with water. Now suddenly what happens? One part of this, okay, let's say this is the eastern part, let's say this is the western part. Sometimes what happens? One part of it, on one end of it, there's a sudden splurge in the temperature and the water starts getting warmer, right? So there's warm water here, extensively warm water as compared to the normal water range, right? But on the other side, the water is still cold, and this is a cold region. Do you see the dipoles developing? Do you see the dipoles developing here? Yes, different terminals. Like a battery, we have positive and negative. Here we have two terminals, that is warm and cold, right? If this develops in certain situations, now put this in the Indian Ocean. Put this in the Indian Ocean, one end to the African and Indian side, the other end to the Indonesian and Australian side, right? If this warm water situation occurs, this leads to the rise of the air. Okay, what would this lead to? This would lead to the rise of the air because it is carrying moisture. That moisture will then lead to the formation of cloud, and that formation of cloud would then eventually lead to rainfall, right? And this is extensive warming up. Please don't take it as a normal condition. This is extensive warming up between the Indian Ocean Dipole, all right? And this extensive warm up leads to cloud formation and leads to extensive rainfall. That is why we had 2% more than the normal rainfall, right? That is what happened. So now, Indian Ocean Dipole, do you understand the concept? That in this Indian Ocean condition, there develops a dipole of warm water and cold water. Now, which area would get rainfall? Either Indonesian or Australian area would get the rainfall, or the African Indian end would get the rainfall. That depends upon which end has the warm water, right? How the dipole has been created, that is what it depends upon, right? So on the western side, we have India and Africa. If we have a warmer side here, a warming up here, that means India and Africa are going to get good amount of rainfall because of Indian Ocean Dipole. And if it is on the eastern side, we would say that Indonesia and Australia are going to get good rainfall despite the El Nino effects, So now we are witnessing IMD is consistently watching out, looking for the Indian Ocean Dipole to develop, because in neutral state, the whole water stays same. There is no creation of the dipole. That is the neutral state, right? That is the neutral state. What would be good for India? What would be positive for India? That we have a warm water here. So this will be our positive Indian Ocean Dipole, and this will be our negative Indian Ocean Dipole, right? This will be our negative Indian Ocean Dipole. Clear? That is why we have three phases. When it is neutral, there is no warming up of the water's temperature constantly stays the same, right? It stays consistently same throughout the Indian Ocean, and there is no variation, right? The entire temperature can rise and fall, but there is no difference of temperature on either ends. If there is positive, then we have warmer water towards India and Africa. If it is negative, we have warmer water towards Indonesia and Australia. These are our positive and negative Indian Ocean dipoles, right? So we are looking forward to the fact, if are there any conditions that are, depicting that there are chances of Indian Ocean Dipole developing, right? That is our positive, and positive that is good for India, dry for Australia. How does it work? We've seen that near Africa, the water becomes warmer and there is a strong positive IOD developed, leading to rainfall, right? Exactly. This is the positive condition. Just look at it. Here we have warmer, here we have cooler. This is the cell developing. There is an increased convection through cloud formation and rainfall. Here there are reduced chances of rainfall. Similarly, in the negative ocean dipole, the cycle gets reversed. And Australia, Indonesia, they have the warmer end. We have the colder end, and that becomes negative for us. Clear? This is the negative dipole. Yeah. Do you understand? This is bad for India, good for Australia. Clear? Exactly. Look at these two conditions. The upper one is the positive phase. The lower one is the negative phase. Here on India, the heavy rains, warmer weather, and in the negative phase, the warmer weather on the Australian side, as you can see. Yes, clearly understandable? All right. Moving forward, there are situations where both of them interact. Both of them interact. The interaction between, we see El Nino and the Indian Ocean Dipole, right? This year we have El Nino also, and we are hoping to have positive Indian Ocean Dipole also, right? So how do they interact? Like, do they coincide with each other, or what is their level of interaction? How do they together perform the activities, right? Let's see what is their interactive scenario. Number one is the double whammy. Okay, they have different names, so just pay attention to that. The double whammy, that is El Nino plus negative IOD. That means both the phenomena are working to suppress the moisture and wind at the same direction. This would obviously lead to very severe drought, right? Widespread disaster, agricultural disaster, death, drought, everything, right? And what would be the impact on Australia? Extreme flooding. There will be extreme flooding, right? Yeah. And in the tug of war, we have El Nino plus positive IOD. Positive IOD means they're opposite forces. El Nino is trying to dry out India, and the positive IOD is trying to give rainfall to India. That way, we will have what? Normal monsoon or better than normal monsoon, right? In the Australia and Indonesia will have catastrophic bushfires, will have forest fires, historic droughts, heat waves. These are the conditions that will develop in Australia and Indonesia, because there will be heat on that end, right? This is how El Nino and Indian Ocean Dipole together interact. What is that? Double whammy and the tug of war. These are the two situations that happen. El Nino plus negative IOD, El Nino plus positive IOD. All right. Right now, what are we hoping for? El Nino plus positive IOD is what our hopes are lying upon, right? Has this ever happened before? Has this ever happened before? The next question arises that, has this ever happened before? Yes, it has happened before. Let's see some instances, I'm not saying all, some major instances when this happened. The overlapping of the two scenarios that happened in the previous instances. We see 1997 had Super El Nino, one of the strongest on the record, right? So strong positive was there. Because of the strong positive, despite the strongest El Nino, we had normal rainfall and plus 2%, right? The ideal scenario that we just talked about, 1997, right? And obviously this acted as a great shield. Everybody understood that there is a positive IOD that completely neutralizes the El Nino effect on India. In 2002, there was a moderate El Nino condition, not very extreme, but moderate as compared to 1997. Yet there was severe drought. Why? Because there was neutral or mild or negative Indian Ocean Dipole, right? And because of that, India did not get extra, and that is minus 19% of the average rainfall, minus 19%. Then this unchecked the deficit. There was a deficit, disrupted worker circulation. India had one of the worst droughts over the decades. One of the worst droughts. Then we came up with 2009. Strong El Nino was there. Again a negative dipole, again extreme drought, and this time minus 22% of the rainfall. Minus 22% of the long-term average that remained here. This was a double whammy. Both ocean and everything was working against us. This combinedly delivered worst Indian monsoon deficit since 1972. Worst deficit, worst one. Okay. Then we had 2015 Super El Nino. 2015 also saw Super El Nino, and here positive was there, but it was a weak positive. So we were still, there was deficient rainfall, but still we were saved. It was not that it caused large scale destruction. It had, a bit of dry conditions, etc. But still, because of the weak positive, we still had a shield. In 2019, there was a weak El Nino and strong positive. Weak El Nino and strong positive. That's why we had excess rainfall plus 10%. Plus 10%. Wow. The IOD dominated, and it grew so powerful that it completely overwhelmed the weak El Nino, and we recorded wettest monsoon season of 25 years. In the last 25 years, even while the rest of the world was facing El Nino, we had the wettest monsoon. All right. And in 2023, the last effect, strong El Nino, strong positive, normal rainfall, right? Because both are acting in the opposite direction, a normal rainfall, and August was driest month, but still it was not that hard for India or the economy or the agriculture. Now this year also we are hoping for it. We're still studying the patterns of Indian Ocean and we are trying to hope, like we are hoping that there will be an Indian Ocean Dipole, there will be a positive Indian Ocean Dipole, and that development is going to save us. Yes, exactly. That is our concept of Indian Ocean Dipole. I hope you understood that. What is IOD? What is positive IOD, negative IOD, its relation with El Nino, and how do they co-occur, and what happens when they co-occur, and have they ever co-occurred? All these things we have covered. Clear? Yes? All right. So we have a question based on this concept for you. Please read the question and give us your answer in the comment section. All right? Okay. Let us know your answer in the comment section. That's about it. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.